two princesses. The next morning, very early, going out to continue the search, she found one of the pearls belonging to her sister's necklace tied up in a small piece of cloth. A little further on lay another, and yet another, all along the road the queen had gone. Then the princess understood that her sister had left this clue to guide her on her way, and she at once set off to find her. Very, very far she went. A 2 months' journey through the jungle, for she could not travel fast. The many days walking tired her so much. Sometimes it took her 2 or 3 days just to find the next piece of cloth with the pearl. At last, she came near a large town, to which it was evident her sister had been taken. Now, this young princess was very beautiful indeed. As beautiful as she was wise. And when she got near the town she thought to herself,
"If people see me they may steal me away as they did my sister. And then I shall never find her again. I will disguise myself."
As she was thus thinking, she noticed by the side of the road a skeleton in the shriveled driver of an old tiger. The princess took the skin and washed it, and drew it on over her own lovely face and neck, as one draws a glove on one's hand. The skin was so old that nothing remained of the shape of the tiger, only a yellowish hue, and it hung on her the way an old woman's skin might hang. Then she took a long stick and began hobbling along, leaning on it, toward the town. On she went, picking up the pearls, one here, one there, until she found the last pearl just in front of the palace gate. Then she felt certain her sister must be somewhere near. But where, she did not know. She longed to go into the palace and ask for her. But no guards would have let such a wretched-looking old woman enter. She did not dare offer them any of the pearls she had with her, lest they should think she was a thief. So she determined merely to remain as close to the palace as possible, and wait till fortune favored her with the means of learning something further about her sister. Just opposite the palace was a small house belonging to a farmer. The princess went up to it and stood by the door. The farmer's wife saw her and said,
"Poor old woman. Who are you? Why are you here? Have you no one in the world?" "Alas, no,"
answered the princess.
"I am a poor old woman and have neither father nor mother, son nor daughter, sister nor brother, to take care of me. All are gone and I can only beg my bread from door to door." "Do not grieve, good mother,"
answered the farmer's wife kindly.
"You may sleep in the shelter of our porch and I will give you food."
So the princess stayed there for that night and for many more. Every day the good farmer's wife gave her food. But all this time she could learn nothing of her sister. Now there was a large tank near the palace on which grew some fine lotus plants covered with rich crimson lotuses, the royal flower, and of these the queen was very fond indeed and prized them very much. To this tank, because it was the nearest to the farmer's house, the princess would go every morning, very early, before it was light, at about 3 o'clock, and take off the old tiger's skin that helped her to look like an old woman, and wash it, and hang it out to dry, and wash her face and hands and bathe her feet in the cool water, and comb her hair. Then she would gather a lotus flower, such as she had been accustomed to wear in her hair as a child, and put it on, so as to feel for a few minutes like herself again. Thus she would amuse herself. Afterward, as soon as the wind had dried the old skin, she put it on again, threw away the lotus flower, and hobbled back to the farmer's door, before the sun was up. After a time, the queen discovered that someone had plucked some of her favorite lotus flowers. People were set to watch, and all the wise men in the kingdom put their heads together to try and discover the thief. But to no avail. At last, the excitement about this matter being very great, the queen's younger son, a brave and noble young prince, said,
"I will certainly discover this thief."
It chanced that several fine trees grew around the tank. Into one of these, the young prince climbed one evening, and there he watched all the night through. But with no more success than his predecessors. The lotus plants lay still in the moonlight, without so much as a thieving wind coming by to break off one of the flowers. The prince began to get very sleepy and thought the thief, whoever he might be, could not intend to return when, in the very early morning, before it was light, who should come down to the tank but an old woman he had often seen near the palace gate.
Ah, ha!
Thought the prince.
This then is the thief. But what can this queer old woman want with lotus flowers?
Imagine his astonishment when the old woman sat down on the steps of the tank and began pulling the skin off her face and arms. And from underneath the shriveled yellow skin came the loveliest face he had ever beheld. So fair, so fresh, so young, so gloriously beautiful, that appearing thus suddenly it dazzled the prince's eyes like a flash of lightning.
Ah, can this be a woman or a spirit? A devil or an angel in disguise?
The princess twisted up her glossy black hair and, plucking a red lotus, placed it in it, dabbled her feet in the water, and amused herself by putting round her neck a string of the pearls that had been her sister's necklace. Then, as the sun was rising, she threw away the lotus and, covering her face and arms again with the withered skin, went hastily away. When the prince got home, the first thing he said to his mother was,
"Mother, I should like to marry that old woman who stands all day at the farmer's gate, just opposite."
What?
cried the queen.
You are mad. Marry that skinny old thing? You cannot, you are a prince. Are there not enough princesses in all the world that you should wish to marry a wretched old beggar woman?
Above all things I should like to marry that old woman. You know that I have ever been a dutiful and obedient son. In this matter, I pray you, grant me my desire.
Seeing he was really in earnest about the matter, and that nothing she could say would alter his mind, she agreed. Not, however, without telling him in no uncertain terms what a terrible mistake he was making. The queen sent out the guards, who fetched the old woman, who was really the princess in disguise, to the palace. There she was married to the princess privately, and with as little ceremony as possible, for the queen wanted no one to know of the matter. As soon as the wedding was over, the prince said to his wife,
"Gentle wife, I will keep your secret. This is the only way I could get to know you better. Do tell me how much longer you intend to wear that old skin?"
The princess wondered how he knew of her disguise, or whether it was only a guess. She thought, he seems kind. But if I take off this ugly skin, my husband will think me pretty and perhaps he will shut me up in the palace and never let me go away, and then I shall never be able to find my sister. No, I had better not take it off.
So she answered,
I don't know what you mean. Nobody can change their skin.
This she mumbled as if she were a very old woman indeed, and had lost all her teeth and could not speak plain. At this, the prince was puzzled. He thought,
Surely she will admit to the truth. I'll wait and see how long this lasts.
But the princess continued to keep on the old skin. Only every morning at about 3 o'clock, before it was light, she would get up and wash it and put it on again. Some time afterward the prince, having found this out, got up softly one morning early and followed her to the next room, where she had washed the skin and placed it on the floor to dry. Taking it, he ran away and hid it. So the princess, having no old skin to put on, was obliged to appear in her own likeness. As she walked forth, very sad at missing her disguise, her husband ran to meet her.
Forgive me, please,
he said.
It was the only way I could get to the truth about you. If you prefer the skin, I will return it to you.
The princess saw how earnest he was, and how he had not pushed her into anything she did not want from the time they were married. And her voice softened.
Very well then,
she said. And they sat down together. Soon the whole palace had heard the joyful news of the beautiful young wife that the prince had won. And all the people, when they saw her, cried,
"Why, she is exactly like the beautiful princess our younger prince married, the Jungle Lady."
The younger prince took her to introduce his bride to his older brother's wife. No sooner did the princess enter her sister-in-law's room than she saw that in her she had found her lost sister. And they ran into each other's arms. Great then was the joy of all. But the happiest of all these happy people were the two princesses who were at last reunited with each other. And they lived together in peace and joy their whole lives long.
Happy ending.